Hi all. So a number of people have asked me about the foreclosure mediation program, what it is, whether I use it, how it works. To be completely candid, I'm not entirely certain how it works. I used it in the beginning when I started doing this. I mean, not in the beginning when I started doing this, because I started doing this before there was a foreclosure mediation program. But when it came out, I started using it thinking it was going to be an effective tool. This came out pre-RESPA, before January 10, 2014. And I was struggling to get traction with the courts on, look, I have a modification, the bank breached the modification, I want a judge to pay attention. And they were uninterested, busy, whatever adjective you want to use. I'm still pissed about it. It was very hard to attract state judges' attention, and there was no RESPA mechanism for getting to federal court. So it was a very difficult challenge, and I thought I could use the mediation program as, look, judge, here's the mediation award. And I can't get the bank to do what they're supposed to do, and I can't get you to pay attention, and I can't bring a separate case because of the entire controversy doctrine. More on that later. And that was a huge fight, and I used the mediation program back in the day. Two things happened. One, I realized I knew way more than the mediators knew. And two, it wasn't a mechanism for me to get to the courts, at least not the trial judges. So I fought my way through that for 4 or 5 years, dealing with the nonsense from the mediation programs and getting settlements outside the mediation program. But the mediation program did do one thing for me. It got the Supreme Court of New Jersey to take my case, GMAC versus Willoughby. And that case stands for the proposition taken because the bank breached the mediation program, not just a settlement. And the mediation program had been set up by the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court had a vested interest in it working. And in this case, my client, Tammy Lynn Willoughby, had a mediated foreclosure resolution, performed, did the trial modification, and got absolutely defrauded by the bank's attorney, Zucker Goldberg, now out of business, best thing that happened in foreclosure practice in 15 years, and by the judge in Monmouth County, who just refused to hear anything and was just absolutely horrific on the case, personally and professionally. She's retired, thank God. Another great thing for foreclosure practice. But they took that case and they held that a foreclosure modification is a right that belongs to the borrower to enforce against the bank. It took until 2017 for New Jersey to rule on this. It's insane. But it's my case, GMAC versus Willoughby, on the mediation program. But back to the mediation program. What is it? You sit in a room with you, being the borrower, your attorney if you have one, the mediator, and the bank's attorney. The bank isn't there. They're there by telephone. You have to be there in person. And you submit the paperwork, you meet with the mediator, and the mediator, I think, sits there and makes sure that the bank goes through the various processes that you are actually reviewed for your modification. Beyond that, I don't think that there is any purpose to the mediation program. I could be wrong. I'm inviting comments. I refuse to get involved in it anymore because I know more than the mediators, and because with RESPA, I can force, through federal law, the banks to do what the mediation program is supposed to do, and I don't have to wait on the mediator or deal with the state court judges. So I don't use a mediation program in New Jersey. You should, if you don't have somebody with the experience in RESPA and the Consumer Fraud Act and the Supreme Court's decision in GMAC versus Willoughby. I am told by my clients who come in and see me after they've been through it that it's a very helpful process. Do it. Go for it. You have an attorney that's recommending it? Do it. Go for it. Subject to the appropriate timing for trying to modify. And I've done a video on that. But let's keep this just to the mediation program. It's a good faith attempt by the Supreme Court of New Jersey to help consumers find their way through the thicket that the financial industry makes them wade through to get to a just result. So this is not a huge props to the mediation program, but it's a good program for most people. All right, there it is. Later.